Hey, I'm Joe. Today, on Next Level Bullshit, a civil rights leader disguised herself as a black woman. Rachel Dolezal, the president of the NAACP chapter in Spokane, Washington, has been under the microscope lately. The reason? She finally lapped her trail of bullshit. And there's a ton of it. To start off, this is a white woman playing a black woman, leveraging the racial card everywhere she goes, and has written extensively about her struggles as a black woman at Inlander.com. This morning, in a softball interview with Matt Lauer, she claimed that she's been identifying as black since she was 5 years old. Shit got real for Rachel last week when the CDA Press published an interview from her parents, Lawrence and Ruthane Dolezal. There seems to be some questions of how Rachel is representing her identity and ethnicity. Lawrence Dolezal said, "We are definitely her birth parents. We are both of Caucasian and European descent. Czech, German, and a few other things. Oh, and look, there's even a birth certificate. And some freckle-faced childhood photos." This is very interesting because when she started the job as president of the NAACP chapter, she claimed this guy was her father, and recently said he'd attend a special ribbon-cutting ceremony, but ended up no-showing at the ceremony. When confronted,
Speaking of that, did your dad ever make it to Spokane in January for the ribbon cutting?
No, actually, he has, unfortunately, has bone cancer and was not able to get cleared for surgery, and so.
Yeah, that sounds like a
cancer? But the reporter kept pushing.
Is that your dad?
Yeah, that's my dad.
This man right here is your father? Right there?
You have a question about that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I was wondering if your dad really is an African-American man.
That's a very, I mean, I don't know what you're implying.
Are you African-American?
I don't understand the question of, I did tell you that, yes, that's my dad. And he was unable to come in January.
Are your parents?
She noped right the fuck out of there. Now there's plenty more bullshit to this story. Like, she managed a full ride to Howard University. When Rachel applied to Howard University to study art with a portfolio of exclusively African-American portraiture, the university took her for a black woman and gave her a full scholarship. She also claimed her adopted brother, Isaiah, as her own child. To her credit, though, she later backpedaled on this one. "He used to be my brother, but I have full custody of him now." Rachel Dolezal claims Jesus Christ is the witness on her birth certificate in TP, Montana, that her mother believed in living a simple life of living off the land, hunting and gathering in the middle of nowhere. From Montana, she, her mother, stepfather, and 3 siblings moved to Colorado in 1992 for 2 years. From there, her family moved to Cape Town, South Africa, where her stepfather accepted a religious job opportunity. Her mother, Ruthane, smashed that bullshit in her interview with the press. Rachel did not have to use bows and arrows to hunt for her own food, and she never lived in South Africa or Colorado. Ruthane said she, Larry, and the younger adopted siblings moved to South Africa in 2002 and lived there until 2006. Larry was stationed there as an employee of the faith-based Creation Ministries International. Rachel did not even ever visit us there. Rachel has even alleged physical abuse from her parents. Dolezal has no contact today with her mother or stepfather due to a series of events that still haunt her thoughts today. Dolezal and her siblings were physically abused by her mother and stepfather. They would punish us by skin complexion. According to Dolezal, the object her mother and stepfather used to punish them was called the baboon whip, used to ward baboons away in South Africa. These whips would leave scars behind. They were pretty similar to what was used as whips during slavery. It's called a sjambok, and apparently no one who has lived in South Africa would call it anything else because it played a brutal role in apartheid. From that same interview in Idaho, Dolezal took on the role as director of the Human Rights Institute, where North Idaho white supremacy groups burglarized every home she and her son lived in. Dolezal said she believes the white supremacy groups felt threatened by female power. According to Dolezal, they hung nooses in her home, vandalized and stole from her property, directed death threats towards her along with threatening to kidnap Franklin while he was in the 2nd grade. Well, it turns out there's some bullshit here too. Police Sergeant Wood, who also serves on the Kootenai County Task Force for Human Relations, said that while working in Coeur d'Alene, Dolezal was never the director of the Human Rights Education Institute, as has been reported. She was a staff member in charge of education programs. Okay, well, what about the burglary and the nooses? According to Coeur d'Alene Police Sergeant Christy Wood, Dolezal filed a handful of reports during her time in Coeur d'Alene. Wood said Dolezal filed a burglary report December 12, 2008. But she never called back with any further info, Wood said. The limited info we have is a washer was taken out of a storage shed she had behind her house. And as for the noose, it turns out Randy Bell, her landlord, had used the rope to hang up a deer the year before. A detective working on the case wrote, "He told me that he was 90% sure it was the rope he hung there approximately 1 year before the report," the officer put in his report. He said he hung a deer up there, and he believes the rope is from that time. Bell told police that he told Dolezal he was the one who had hung the rope in the rafters. And then finally, we have this final piece of bullshit. Rachel Dolezal once did not let a student participate in a class activity about race and culture because she did not appear Hispanic enough. In a class exercise called Fishbowl, students would sit in front of the class and answer questions from students about their racial and cultural experiences. The student in question was not picked because she didn't look Hispanic enough and doubted that I could share experiences of racial or ethnic discrimination because I didn't have the appearance of looking Hispanic, even though she grew up in a Spanish-speaking country and speaks the language fluently. As you can see, there's a whole lot of bullshit behind this social justice warrior. Now, it would certainly be one thing if she just owned her look and was passionate. It's completely another thing to fabricate bullshit to benefit yourself politically and financially. She had a teaching job teaching young adults about the experiences of a black woman. Maybe she just has a personality disorder and we should actually feel really sad for her. Which is possible since she never backed down from her deceptions during this morning's interview with Matt Lauer. Now, we don't think anyone needs to pretend to be someone they're not and co-opt the struggles of others in order to be accepted as a champion for social justice. That's a level of disordered irony no one wants to deal with. Now, what do you think? And there you have it, a really confused episode 51. Our last episode on the Strong Site program received a few comments. Sean Taft said, "I absolutely love this shit. I've been watching since episode 1. I found through ATS and never watched a bad video that you have uploaded." Does that mean you think we made a few bad episodes and you just didn't watch them? Tuan Vo said, "Love this channel. Subscribed after the first video and watched all the videos. Keep up your good work of informing us. Love your presentations and the lack of ahs and ums." Emily Miller said, "Another great show. Keep on opening our eyes to the bullshit. I suggest you donate to Doctors Without Borders with your next 100. Thanks, and we thought about them, but it turns out they're pretty well funded between corporate donors and government grants. And we're still getting a lot of hate from the 9/11 crowd over our second episode with George Knapp. Christopher Patridge wrote, I'd like to know his explanation of how such a modern building could collapse with such complete symmetry at a free fall speed. You people, this is why you can't have nice things. We asked Mr. Knapp, a journalist, why journalists aren't covering 9/11 conspiracies. Maybe we need to do an episode on why there's so many assholes in the 9/11 truth movement. So, what's today's total?
14.
This time, we'll take your suggestions for the charity I give $100 to once the total reaches 100. Now, if you find a story that's bullshit worthy and want to share it with me, use hashtag NLBS when posting to any social media site. If you're really motivated, make me a video. If we like it, we'll feature you on our next segment. Of course, you can just email me anytime at joe@nextlevelbullshit.com. Follow us on Twitter, subscribe on YouTube, and be sure to watch all our shows on nextlevelbullshit.com. Be sure to check out thenlbs.spreadshirt.com to get shirts and other cool swag. And we'll see you soon with another pile of bullshit. In the meantime, if you're like me, stay far fucking away from Arlington, Virginia, where swearing is now illegal and will result in a $250 fine. To be fair, swearing was illegal for some time in this town that has this monument to the Marines who fought for freedom. But after nearly 700 arrests last year, they decided to raise the fine from $100 to $250. This is how it fucking starts, people. The end is near.